what is the appropriate respond as an individual to a situation that is unknown, because for sure, like, if I will push other aspect of my life into big uncertainty, I know that immediately I freak out, because each individual need certainty, different types of certainties,
Right.
So for me, for example, I don't need a lot of certainties around the idea of being sick, but I need much more certainties around the idea of continual work. And then it's like, and then, so in that sense, I find myself like, yeah, maybe I'm not that different than, okay, that's maybe the difference between me and somebody who is very stressed about the situation. But, and what I'm saying, like, everyone needs control in their life in order to exist. And what I'm hearing from you, and maybe that's like that, to some extent, the fact that we are avoiding confronting the biggest mystery and the biggest lack of control, which is the fact that we are organic, and that we will, no matter how much we will project our brains away into some space, it's going to end at a certain point. No, and like that, the fact that this stays in the shadow, we can never relax.
Right. And it's not up to us. And then how, what kind of approach do we, or perhaps it is up to us, if you depend, language is a bit clumsy. Um, Maybe it is up to us in some sort of spirit way, but for the ego, for who we think we are, for the little mind inside that's fearful, and the instinct that is there, which is a good instinct, is that we're safe, that we're warm, and that we've got food around. And for you, you said continual work. That basically means warmth and safety for your family in some way, and maybe perhaps some sort of gratification for your identity. You're in the world, you're doing good things. That part is definitely very threatened by big shifts, big changes, as it should be. And I think whether we, that's the two roads. One is taking the anxious road, and you're going into anxiety, fear, nervousness around that. And the other is going into, all right, that's the dance, right? The state of possibility. Let's see where this goes. And that's kind of humor, excitement, silliness, almost like a wink, like a trickster. And I think those are the options. I don't think there are that many, more options to take. And
Yeah.
sometimes we oscillate. We're in one or the other. My question is, how do we cultivate that road where it's more like, what is this going to be? You know, and then I'd ask you, like, what are your strategies that you use when you see that your mind is very uptight? Like you said, all right, you want continual work. How do you calm yourself down when you start spinning into some place of, this is not going where I want it to go?
I want to ask you that question.
That's a good question.
It's a good question. Yeah.
So what do I do? Let's see. I start with, and this has been in the last year, where I start to check in also on a daily basis. Like, let's break it down for a second. How am I? How am I eating? How am I sleeping? How am I waking up? Simple things. Um, and I start to think of the movement and having some silence. Breathing, sitting with myself. I start to look at that as the medicine that I'm prescribing to myself. So maybe I'm going to sit 20 minutes in the morning. I'm going to do some stretching. Or I'm going to sit 10 minutes in the evening, sit and breathe, meditate, then massage myself. Then I'm going to go to sleep. I do very simple things like that, and then I can check in with myself, um, if my state is shifting or not from these practices. Or now I have access to studios, I go and dance.
Mm.
Teaching also as an art is very helpful because I get to be in a room with people. So I'm thankful to have that practice. Then I can get out of my head, move things around.
Mm.
Um, Yeah, and writing as well. Sometimes I have to write out. I have to give validation to what I think is the problem, and write it out truthfully.
Hmm.
And be very annoyed if I'm frustrated, if I think that I don't have a future and everything is terrible, and then I'll have to write, I don't have a future, everything is terrible. I can never find a place for myself. Nobody likes me, and nobody gives me validation. I have to write it out, or use the typewriter, type it out, because then I can laugh at it and say, okay, great. Now I gave this validation to my mind. I know that there's more perspectives, and that's just one limited perspective that I got into for a second.
Interesting approach. Yeah, it's like, it's exactly that. How to have different perspectives. And what do you think is the connection between this and the fact that you've been improvising in the last 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun to say improvisation as a way of life because it's very poetic. In some ways it is. In other ways, there are moments where I started realizing I wanted more structure for my improvisation. And yet, in terms of playing with perspective, I do think that the improvisation as a state of possibility strengthens that muscle to really be open to the moment of shifting the channel and recognizing that this is just one channel. The examples I gave are just a few examples, but they're really infinite. I mean, I could pick up the phone and call you and ask you, hey, I need another perspective, right? We can always also pick up the phone and use another human support to get another perspective, or another channel. So I definitely think that the art of improvisation is building the muscle of trusting in the fact that not everything needs to be known all the time.
If you want to see more precious and insightful moments, make sure to check our short clips playlist. To see longer interviews, check out the full episode playlist just below it. And to be notified for all future videos, click the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notification bell. See you on the next episode.